Okay, what can you tell me about the reaction to your new album, God of Angels Trust? What is overall reaction, both the audience, the fans, the media?
You know what? In general, most reviews and definitely the majority of the fans seems to really like the album. A lot of them thinks it's kind of a return to our roots type of thing. It's a bit harder. Album is more based around the riff this time rather than the hooks and melodies. I mean, they're still there, but it's a bit more riff based and it's a bit more kind of a throwback back to how we started actually. So I think the overall reaction to almost everybody has been good. You know, those who don't like us will never like us no matter what. So
All right. I think you wanted an album without rules. I mean, without overthinking about it, something fresh. Going to the studio and recording something fresh. That was the idea?
it was one of the ideas, yeah, you know, not really may sound strange, but not really think too much about it, you know. Do whatever came into, especially Michael's head when he wrote the stuff. Don't overanalyze it. Just, you know, if it felt right, it was right. That was one of the ideas. Another idea was, you know, not I don't know if you want to say overdo it, but not do too many songs actually, because as you may be aware of, some of the previous albums had a lot of songs on them, like 14 and 15 songs. And
Yeah.
we said this time, why not just make, let's say, 10 songs? And hopefully each song is equally good as the previous song. So that was another idea. And again, you know, maybe try to embrace our past a little bit, you know,
All
where we
right.
came and see if we could kind of write the songs like we used to back in the days. I mean, back in the days, you know, he would show up with a riff or an idea and we would just jam it and you know say, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool, you know, go home and then meet up again 2 days later. And one of the rules we had then was if we couldn't remember what we did 2 days ago, then it wasn't good enough. And so that was another one of the ideas again to do a little bit like we did in the past.
All right. Because musically, Volbeat is a difficult band to define. Some people say they are playing, I don't know, hard rock, metal, groove, rockabilly, everything. How could you
Mhm.
define musically your new album? Is it possible to define with different styles? How could you define it? Or even the band, Volbeat, how could you define musically?
uh I've heard so many things over the years, you know, that we were a metal band and then we were not a metal band. We were a rockabilly metal band. We were Elvis metal. We were whatever shit band or whatever we were called. You know, basically, I used to say to people, you know what, you can call it whatever you like, but for me, it's just music. If you want to call it metal, that's fine. If you want to call it shit music, that's fine. You know, but I'll say we're just a rock and roll band.
Okay, let's talking about Spain. What can your fans in Spain expect about your upcoming concerts, upcoming shows? For example, here in Bilbao, you played some years ago, before the COVID. You played in a nice venue, Santana,
Mhm,
and later
mhm.
you played in an arena. You have grown a lot here. What can the fans
Yeah.
expect here in Spain?
What can they expect? I mean, we're going to be there. We're going to be on stage. We're going to play. You know, yeah, we do have a production, but you know, this time we again went a little bit back to the earlier days. So it's not like we are bringing, you know, all kinds of stuff that can explode and fire and all that stuff. We did that, and we said, how about we're going back to how we used to do it? So,
Uh-huh.
you know, we have a stage production and I think it looks really good, but it's kind of basic and it's kind of old school, I would put
All
it like
right.
that. Then
So
I'm not gonna
no pyro, no smoke. So
no, you know, the pyro thing, we did that and it was fun while we did it, but we also talked about, well, we had the fire, we had all that stuff. What can you do after that? Well, you can add more pyro or you can add different stuff. It's like, well, we already did that. And I mean, yeah, it's exciting when a flame goes up, you know, but you can only do it so many times other than maybe get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then for us, it's always been about the music. The music has to come first, and then you can add, the carnival type of thing. And besides that, if you want to see a band who's experts in pyro and all that stuff, go see Rammstein. They are the best at that.
Okay, okay. In the last shows, I think that you have been playing four new songs from the last record. I don't know if you will play the four new songs in Spain also, or it will be the same songs you are playing right now, or maybe it will be a different set list next month.
Well, we had a goal when we started the tour in Canada a couple of months ago that we said by the end of the year, we wanted to say, okay, we played all the new songs,
All the
not
new
not
songs.
in the same set, obviously, because that's probably too much. But I think right now we're actually doing, I think it's five new songs
Five.
of the album. I
Oh,
think it's
all right.
five. And we're probably going to stay that way, play like five new songs, but we are probably going to change them every once in a while. Some of them, it seems like they're already kind of feel good in the set, and it seems to be pretty subtle in the set, but we're probably going to change it a bit around, every once in a while. So when we get to Spain, it might be a slightly different set list than we are playing today, for instance.
All right. All right.
Because
Uh,
some songs works better in some countries than other countries,
Really. Hmm.
So sometimes it's a little bit, okay, maybe this one will work for, let's say the Spanish audience, and maybe it won't work. So we'll see what happens.
And this is the same for the old tracks. For example, I don't know, in Spain, this old classics works better. It's the same with the old tracks, I mean.
Well, we do have a bunch of songs that we play every single day, no matter what. So stop moaning and complaining out there. We will play those songs. You're not going to get rid of them, but it gets a bit more difficult the more albums you have in your bag, and you try to please everybody and please ourselves, by the way. But we know we have a handful of songs that we have to play no matter what, and we will keep playing those songs. So to try and find the right balance in the set, it takes a while, but right now I think actually we have a pretty good balance between new songs and old songs. But there's other songs that we sometimes think about, say, oh yeah, it could be fun to bring that one back. And sometimes we do, and then people just looks at us like we have two heads.
And how do you do for arranging the set list? Do you have a meeting? Do you have a discussion? I want to play this track. I want to play another one. I don't know. How do you do it?
Well, like I said, most of the songs has been part of the set for years and years and years. So we know that those songs are there. And, it also depends, on Michael's voice. If sometimes he would say, well, perhaps today, maybe not that one because I might be a little bit sore, or I sing too much in that one. So let's take this one out and replace it with something else, So again, that changed. But mostly it would be him who picked the songs that we're playing.
And how does he feel nowadays? Because I think he had a surgery, throat surgery some years ago. Is
Mhm.
completely okay right now. It's
Oh yeah,
everything.
yeah. He's doing good. His voice is back up. It's strong. I think every day he talks to his vocal coach. I think they
Mhm.
still do, don't? Yeah, they talk every day. And she listens to him talk for a bit, and then she says, "Okay, today we're going to do this type of exercise and this type of exercise to keep his voice in shape." But he is doing pretty good right now.
All right. I just want to talk a little bit about the bill because you are playing here with Bush and with Fever. What can you tell me about Bush? How did you come up with the idea of having them? It's a veteran band with more than 30 years of career. How did you arrange the idea of having Bush as a special guest in your shows, the British band? There
I
was something
don't,
from the
I don't, I don't,
management.
I don't have a clue. I think it was a suggestion from the management that said,
All right.
these guys are doing pretty good, and they're nice guys, and we were like, yeah, sure, why not, sure, let's bring them out, and they were available to do a tour, so yeah, sure, let's bring them out, and same thing with the opening act.
All right. What can you tell me about the opening act? Because I don't have any kind of idea of which fever.
I have no idea. I haven't even heard them yet. I know they're very, very young, but I'm also very old, so that kind of makes sense, you know. So I I haven't really heard them, but you know, what type of music they play, I have absolutely no idea.
All right, all right. Since a couple of
Let's leave that as a surprise for you Spanish fans.
All right. So we have to go early to see the three
You have
bands.
to be
All
there
right.
early, yes.
Okay. Since a couple of years ago, since Rob Caggiano left the band, you have been a trio, three members, with the help of the guitar player Fleming Lund.
Hmm.
Have you considered adding him as a fourth member, official member, or he's a side member?
Fleming is just as much a part of the band as everybody else right now. You know, he is a part of the band, and you know that's actually kind of simple. You know, he is a part of the band, and he's doing really good. You know, he's a really really amazing guitar player. He's a very nice guy. You know, and now we have the advantage of being four Danish people again, so we can talk a lot of Danish in between each other, and nobody in the crew understands what we're saying. So that's great. So we can really insult everybody, and they don't have a clue what we're saying.
That's a that's a help.
Oh yeah.
Okay, okay. Last month, 2 months ago, Ozzy Osbourne died. Sadly, it was a really, really sad news for the metal community.
Yeah.
And you paid tribute to Ozzy playing "Children of the Grave" song by
Mhm.
Black Sabbath in one of your
Mhm.
songs. What does Ozzy Osbourne mean to you, as for you personally and as the band?
Well, yeah, what did he meant? He Ozzy was an icon, basically. I mean, everybody knew who Ozzy Osbourne was. Even my wife knows who Ozzy is. She's definitely not into that type of music, but I mean, when I was, you know, like 13, 14, 15, you know, he you know when you were reading like a metal magazine or whatever, there's always something about Ozzy, you know, and he had this great logo and he looked kind of scary and everybody's saying, oh yeah, he's the Prince of Darkness, he's the devil. So of course it was like, oh, I gotta listen to that guy, whoever it is, I gotta listen to that guy. So some of my, I guess some of the first albums that I bought for my own money was actually Bark at the Moon,
All right.
because I looked at the cover of Bark at the Moon and I was like, oh my God, this has to be good. I mean, this guy is a werewolf. How cool can it be? You know, so some of the early Ozzy albums I truly enjoyed, you know, obviously Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. Bark at the Moon is still a favorite of mine. A lot of people say it's not his best album. Maybe it isn't, but it's still a classic album. But you know, uh, as for Black Sabbath, you know, without Sabbath, none of us would probably be here anyway. You know, they laid the foundation for a lot of what you can call heavy metal today. You know, so it was sad that he passed away, but I mean, I'm sure he had a great life, a big life. He was a bigger than life character, you know, and he is missed all around the world. And we don't really know how to play Black Sabbath, but we knew that little part of Children of the Grave. So it's like, yeah, let's do that. And you know, some of our stuff is kind of inspired what Sabbath did. The whole dun 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 dun. Dun, dun. I mean, you cannot beat that.
All right. And talking about as a band, as Volbeat, you have a long career. You have played with many, many bands. Do you think that Metallica was the band that helped you the most? That helped you the most when you were in your early days, when you were an unknown band? Do you think Metallica was the band that helped you the most in your career?
They they definitely helped us in the US, that's for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, for Scandinavia and Europe, you know, we were doing okay by our own, but you know, we played a show with Metallica in 2007 in Denmark, which was huge, and we thought, okay, that's going to be a one-time thing. But you know, hey, we played with Metallica, that was great, and all of a sudden, you know, there is a connection between both bands, and they took us out in America in 2009 and small parts of Europe in 2007, you know, and it was amazing. And obviously, yeah, it did help a lot. You know, I mean, there's no way to deny it. It did. I mean, they are still to this day the biggest metal band, you know.
And you can't speak Danish in front of the drummer.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
We
the
can speak
problem.
we can speak
Okay.
Danish with
And,
Lars.
and, and any other important band that helped you in your early days that you remember, apart of Metallica? Any other band that it was really important for Volbeat?
You mean touring wise or?
Yeah, touring wise, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. What immediately pops into my head, we toured with Anthrax in the US. That was great. I mean, again, they're one of the big four. But I would say we did a tour with Megadeth and Motorhead, which was awesome. We've me and me and Michael are huge Motorhead fans, and he's a huge Megadeth fan. I'm not so much into Megadeth, but just be able to watch those two bands every night. I mean, how great was that? Hang out with Mickey D and Phil Campbell a little bit, and say hi to Lemmy and all that stuff. I mean, again, two legendary bands.
And do you think it's now your turn to help other bands? Do you think that you have to help the young bands, or is not important for you? It's not a mission.
Well, it's not a mission. I mean, yeah, of course, if you take somebody out and they become, big or whatever, you can kind of say, yeah, maybe we had a small percentage of that, but it's not really something that we think too much about. We usually tour, with bands that we like and that we can hang out with, but in a way, perhaps we have been lucky that we have reached the status that we have, but people sometimes, I think, forget that we actually worked our little behinds off. We spent years and years and years and years just touring, going all over the place. We start off playing maybe in front of 10 people. Next time there'll be 50 people, maybe 100 people. And all of a sudden something, people caught on, but so yeah, in a way you can say we were lucky, but we worked our asses off, and who
All
knows?
right. You have told me about you bought Ozzy Osbourne records in the 80s before. When you were teenagers, did you like Danish classic bands such as, I don't know, Merciful Fate, King Diamond, Pretty Mates,
Yeah,
Artillery? You were into
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Danish heavy metal?
Yeah, I mean, Merciful Fate and King, yeah, it's still, still if I put on, Don't Break the Oath, which was released in '84, it still sounds amazing. It still sounds fresh. Melissa, the same thing as well, and they have kind of like their own thing. There's nobody who sounds like them. And the same thing with King, there's nobody who sounds like King Diamond. I never thought there would be a King Diamond tribute band, but I actually saw one on YouTube not long ago. I was like, oh, I have to see how that goes. But the guy actually was very good impersonating King. I had to give them credit for that, But both King and Merciful Fate are legendary in not only in Denmark, but the whole world. Everybody knows who King Diamond is. They know what Merciful Fate is, because other bands, would always, including us, would say, yeah, we were inspired by Merciful Fate. Metallica was inspired, Megadeth, Slayer, etc. They were all inspired by Merciful Fate, and the same thing actually with Artillery. They may have never reached the status that they kind of deserve, but I saw an interview not long ago with Gene Hoglan where he was asked to name his five, I think it was his five favorite thrash albums. And he actually mentioned Terror Squad. I think it was Terror Squad by Artillery.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, they are up there. They're still playing. Artillery is still out there. There's only one guy left from the original band, but they're still out there. They're still playing. Pretty Mates is still playing. They tour as much as they can. It's impressive. And again, I've seen a lot of people say, oh yeah, when you say, oh what metal from Denmark do you know? And people will say, Merciful Fate, King Diamond, and then Pretty Mates actually.
Really?
So
Okay. Just a couple of questions to finish the interview. What are your all-time favorite drummers, your influences?
oh man, I hate that question because there are so many. Um, I have to give tip my hat to Ringo Starr. Without Ringo, I would never start to play drums. I saw the Beatles on TV and I was blown away. And I was like, I want to, I want to be that guy. That guy. He's awesome. I want to be that guy. So obviously Ringo, Charlie Watts, may he rest in peace, from the Stones. What an amazing drummer. If you go into the more harder stuff, I would say obviously Eric Carr from Kiss was a big influence. Cannot avoid the mighty Nico McBrain. I would say a guy like Don Powell from Slade was a huge influence. And if we go slightly further, again, you cannot avoid Lars Ulrich. I mean, love him or hate him, I don't care what people think about him. To me, he's still an amazing drummer, and there's so many people who were inspired by him. When Lightning came out and Puppets came out, a lot of people started picking up on not only Metallica, but that whole probably thrash scene. I mean, he was the guy. I mean, he was, and I still believe he's a great drummer. He has his own style, his own way of playing. You can always hear when it's Lars playing. So he would be one. Dave Lombardo, Venter from Creator,
Wow.
Charlie Benanti from Anthrax, Hoagland is an amazing drummer. And last but not least, I would say Neil Peart from Rush. What a drummer he was. He was
Unbelievable.
he was,
Unbelievable.
yeah, he was.
And the last one, what do you love and what do you hate of touring? A part of interviews, maybe you hate them. What do you love and what do you hate of touring?
Obviously,
We're
the
touring
best
right
part.
now.
Yeah, well, obviously the best part is actually, to go up and do what you do. That's what we're here for. This is what we do. That's the best part. I'm not very. I mean, being away from home is the worst part. Not. I mean, fortunately now we're in Europe, so the time difference isn't really a problem. So luckily we can speak to our families every day, and sometimes we bring them out. But I would say, going away from home is always the worst parts.
And do you find easy to sleep, to rest after the shows, after the adrenaline of playing a show? Is it difficult to sleep or to rest? I don't know.
Uh, Sometimes it kind of depends. It usually takes, after the show is done, we sit down maybe and talk about the show for 10-15 minutes, and then we take the piss out of each other. And and it takes like maybe an hour and a half. You take a shower, maybe get something to eat, talk to the crew guys, and usually you'll be by the bus and maybe go straight to sleep, have a beer or read a book or whatever you do.